Hi, it's Lisa. 2 years ago, I made a video called 40 Years of Men's Goth Style, the follow-up to the female version, which traced trends in Gothic fashion through the decades. Still really proud of that video. I think it's the best in the series we've made so far, and it recently clicked over to 2 million views on YouTube, which is pretty cool. For much of the time in those last 2 years, I have intended to address the key criticism about that video, which is the fact that I included emo as one of the looks for 2005. If you're goth, if you've ever been goth, if you know a goth, you're probably aware it's a contentious topic. They have strong feelings about where emo does, or rather doesn't, fit in to the gothic subculture. And I knew I'd have to talk about it, and I always intended to do a director's commentary on that video. But every time I sat down to try, I would get distracted because I would get angry. I would start reading the comments because I wanted to address my feedback to specific questions or criticism. And instead I would get bogged down in reading all of these really homophobic comments. And I know that the internet is like a dumpster for awful things, but it kind of threw me, and I knew that I wanted to talk about the fact that people couldn't watch a video of a man wearing makeup, a skirt, dressed as an emo kid, perhaps, and not say fag. So, after all this time, I'm going to talk about it in this video. My defense of emo as part of goth fashion history, and much more importantly, how I feel about the homophobic comments on that video and where I think that the two things connect. Not too big of a topic, right? We can do this together? I hope so. So let me start with explaining why there's an emo look in a video about goth. My project, my fashion videos, and most of my journalism through my career has been very macro. I'm interested in a general look at this subject, not for the hardcore people inside, but for everyone. So that's why there's a punk look in my video, because I think it's part of the history, why there's steampunk and pastel in the girl version, and why when it came to picking the look for 2005, I debated whether or not to include emo. I knew it would piss off some people, but I thought that it was still a significant trend at that time. And I say trend, which is a bad word in goth, because you either are or you aren't, and it doesn't really matter what else is going around you, or shouldn't. But like any subculture, it evolves. And if I just did a fashion video of 10 different trad goth looks from the 80s that just changed brands along the way, that wouldn't be very interesting to me. So when I was looking back at what happened in the 2000s, I noticed two things. I noticed cybergoth, and I noticed what I called emo, could also have called mall goth, or even goth metal. And I have a theory as to why the fashion changed so dramatically at that time. Columbine. The Columbine school shootings in 1999 that were perpetrated by two dudes that got misconstrued as goth by the media. Overnight, if you were a teenager in North America, goodbye trench coats, goodbye army boots, army pants, anything that had a military vibe, anything that made you look threatening. Maybe if you were out of high school back then, you were less aware of it, but certainly as a teenager at the turn of the millennium, you did not want to go to school dressed like a typical 80s or 90s goth. So the look got softer and more casual. You started to see jeans and sneakers and band t-shirts and like loose sweaters and far less makeup. At the same time, emo started to rise in mainstream popularity. It wasn't just a music subculture for underground indie punks. It was on MTV with big, splashy, big budget videos and fashion costumes. And this affected the trend in counterculture fashion in North American youth, right? If you went to Hot Topic around that time, what was there to buy? The fingerless skeleton gloves and the striped shirt and the hoodies. And so if you were goth inclined in your suburb, there's a good chance you wore that stuff. That's where I was coming from in including it. Not suggesting that emo and goth are the same thing. I wrote a book called the Encyclopedia Gothica, and if you look up my definition of emo, it says not goth. I know, guys, but when we're just talking about clothes, that is what the look was. The trend was at that time. I can talk about this more, but I'd rather direct you in the video description to a link to a podcast called Cemetery Confessionals. I had a really good chat with the host Daniel about this topic. He is a guy, first of all, but also has some life experience in that era from the emo scene, as well as his experience in goth. And I think our conversation about that topic is really good. I encourage you to listen to it, or we can chat more about it in the comments. What I really wanted to talk about, though, was how can we talk about being anti-emo and not address that it's also anti-gay? I'm not an expert in this topic. I have observed the anti-emo sentiment, the memes, the riots in Mexico where they beat kids up, and a lot of it seems to be because they are queer looking. Not necessarily gay, but just a different version of masculinity than some people like, even people within the goth and punk subcultures. And I suspect that homophobia has a lot to do with the anti-emo sentiment. Now, androgyny has always been part of goth, gender bending to a certain extent, but it's often men embracing the hyper-feminine. And when I look at emo kids, especially in the 2000s, I see not guys dressing like girls, but guys finding a new way to express their version of their own identity. And people reacting pretty negatively to that. Again, it's not my lived experience. If this is your lived experience, you can write to me in the comments about this. If you want to point me to any essays that I should read on this topic, I'd be happy to get more educated, but this is a very strong hunch that I have. And it's connected to all of these comments I got when I put this video out. And if you go to 40 Years of Men's Goth Style and you look at the comments right now, you'll say, Liisa, I don't see that there. What are you talking about? Well, it's because I've filtered them out. At some point, I stopped just deleting them and I put the YouTube filter on, which is a feature they offer. I highly recommend using if you're a creator to get rid of the sort of like garbage slurs that trolls leave on YouTube pages for no good reason. I get a chance to review these comments, and if they are constructive, if they are in any way useful, I can allow them on the page, but if they're just something like nasty, I don't. And I'm going to read some of them. And this might be language that's upsetting to some people. I'd understand if you skipped to the end or turned off. And I'll put some of these up on the screen so you can see the usernames as well. What we see most often is simply just gay or this is gay, but you'll also see comments like, any male who dresses like this is secretly a faggot. Every single one look like a fag. There's nothing manly about sparkles on your face. 40 years of being gay. Nobody wants to be associated with gay emo except other gay emos. This person also comments on my fat ass in the cameo of the video. And my personal favorite, your gay ass clothes can't stop my bullets. What's that about? What's funny is that these almost all are written by male identifying YouTube usernames. By far, the demographics who watch my videos, according to YouTube analytics, overwhelmingly female, like 90% female. And yet somehow all of these random dudes have found my men's goth style video. and decided that the best use of their day, their time on Earth, is to leave some stupid, hurtful, hateful comment on there. I've clicked on some of those accounts out of curiosity, and most of them are completely blank. 0 videos uploaded, no videos liked, no subscribers. But the ones that do have a bit of a clue as to who these people are, video game playthroughs, guns, Trump, pickup artists. Like, there's a pattern, there's a demographic here. And if you're one of those people, I don't want you to watch my videos. I don't want you on my channel. I don't want you in my comments. I'm going to keep deleting that shit. You're not going to get your 5 seconds of pleasure of seeing that nasty comment on the internet. Because I don't want other people, whether they're gay or straight, to have to read that shit. You know, I have a lot of other things I want to talk about on this channel. I want to review books, and I want to go talk to my friend Kate about corsets and talk about fashion and do more fashion videos. And often when I think about it, I go, but I haven't done the emo homophobia video yet. And that's more important. And so now that I have said these things and got them off my chest, I can move on. I can do other things, and I will. If you want to talk to me about this in the comments, and you want to be constructive, I'll be there. If you just want to leave shitty comments, I'm going to keep deleting them. If you are a goth person and you really hate emos, I still don't understand why, and I don't think that you belong in this subculture. You certainly don't belong on my channel. So stay if you like what I'm about, and if you don't, see ya until next time.